In this video, we're going to be talking about slope. So what exactly is it the slope of a line measures? The slope of a line measures the rate of change. Now there are 4 different types of slope. So our first one shows a line increasing from left to right, and we call this a positive slope. The next type, we have a line decreasing from left to right, and this is what we call a negative slope. Our next type is a horizontal line where there's no vertical change. We call this zero slope. And lastly, we have a vertical line that goes up and down and has no change from left to right, and we call this undefined. So what is our slope equation? How can we calculate the slope when we're given 2 points? So we can use y, or m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and sometimes that's known as the change of y over the change of x. In fact, you might have first heard about slope when it was the rise over the run and you were counting it on a graph. So we're going to do a few examples here where we're going to find the slope of a line that passes through some points. So in our first example, we have the point -2, 0 and 3, 1. So what we're going to do first is we're going to label our x's. This is going to be our x1, and this is going to be our x2. And they're x's because they're in the x position of our coordinates. And then we're going to have our y1 and our y2. And I'm labeling it 1 and 2 because the 1, it's the first y I see, and the y2 is because it's the second y that I see. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug this in. So we're going to take our y2, which is 1, and we're going to subtract our y1, which is 0, and then we're going to divide that by our y2, which is 3, subtracting our y1, or excuse me, our x1, which is -2. And again, this is how we're looking for our slope. Now notice in the denominator that I have double negatives, which means that I'm really going to be adding those together. And this is going to give me a 1/5. So my slope here is going to be 1/5. And because it's positive, it's going to look like our first type of graph, a positive graph. So it's going to look something like that. Okay. Let's look at our next example. So same thing. Let's go ahead and let's label our pieces. x1, x2, y1, y2. And let's plug those in. So here we're going to have 2 minus 2 over 2 minus -1. And so here we have double negatives in the denominator again, so we can add those. And we're going to have a 0 divided by 3. Well, 0 divided by 3 is 0. So that means our slope is 0, which means that our graph is going to look like the third type, where it's going to be just a horizontal line going across. Let's look at our third example. So here we have 0, 4 and 1, -1. So we'll start off by labeling our numbers. And this time I'm going to use the equation m equals the change of y over that change of x, so you can just see how it's done. You would get the same answer, but that way you can see the difference. So we're going to find the change of y first. So the change of y means that you're just going to subtract your y's. And your change of x just means you're going to subtract your x's. So you're kind of doing the same work. All right, so let's go ahead and find our change of y. So here we're going to have our y2 minus our y1, and that's going to give us a -5. And then we're going to find our change of x, and that's going to be 1 minus 0. So that's a 1. And now I'm going to stack them, right, with my change of y going on the top and my change of x going in the bottom, in the denominator. I'm going to have m equals negative 5 over 0. Now this, or not over 0, sorry, over 1. So my slope here is negative 5 over 1. Or you can write that as m equals negative 5. Because it's negative, that means that my slope is going to look something like this when it's graphed. So that's how you calculate the slope of a line passing through 2 points.